Ash Sarkar is one of the better known woke leftists in the country. Here's a clip.
He's not my hero. I'm a communist, you idiot.
Ash has recently been criticising her opponents for viewing crime through a racial lens. Now, I agree that that is actually a bit of a problem, but the hypocrisy here is very intense because Ash and her fellow ideological travellers led the charge to re-racialise both crime and public life more broadly under the guise of progressivism. Here are some examples. Here's Ash describing why she needs certain spaces that are free of any white people. Here's a thought experiment. What do you think Ash or any other woke leftist would say if they heard someone talking about the need for spaces free of black people? Here's a clip in which Ash describes why the mere presence of white people automatically means racism exists.
I understand that lots of white people feel annoyed by the idea that they benefit somehow from their whiteness, or that the presence of white people automatically means the presence of racism. I really understand that. But with all love and all kindness, this really isn't about you.
Here we can see Ash using the phrase gammon, i.e. a hunk of sweaty red meat, to describe white men she disagrees with. Here's another thought experiment. What do you think woke leftists would say if you compared someone from an ethnic minority background to a piece of dead pig that looks like them based upon their skin colour? Here's Ash, who is supposedly opposed to the use of a racialised lens, discussing the unbearable whiteness of Brexit. In this unbelievably pretentious clip, Ash holds forth on how Newtonian physics and the refraction of light relates to whiteness.
For me, the metaphor that I find useful for thinking about whiteness as a composite is Isaac Newton's 18th century experiments with light. And at the time, the scientific consensus that white was the purest form of light. It wasn't made up of anything else. And through his use of prisms, he found out that actually it was a composite of every single colour of the spectrum. That's the way I like to think of whiteness. It's a composite of every process of racialisation that white people have imposed.
And let's not forget the time she wandered around London asking random people when were white people invented. Here, Ash uses the death of one man, George Floyd, in another country to paint the entirety of society or the justice system, it's not quite clear, as a system that terrorises black people and people of colour, a claim which itself, though repeated widely across our mainstream media, is not actually supported by the available evidence at all, and is a deeply divisive one. Oh yeah, and here's one in which she describes big race riots as collective mourning and memorialisation. Obviously, there are loads of other examples I could have chosen here, and this doesn't only apply to Ash either. She's just a pretty good representative of the woke movement as a whole.